We welcome you back to Longhorn Sports Line with head coach Mack Brown, presented by Great Southern Wood. And even though I've known our first guest here, actually even longer than you, I've known him about 25 years, going back to high school football days in Dallas-Fort Worth, you should do the honors and introduce him.
Well, this is Bruce Chambers, great friend of mine, been here 14 years. Bruce grew up in the Dallas area. He played at Dallas Carter for a legendary coach named Freddie James. He goes to North Texas and plays for Coach Hayden Fry, and Bill Snyder was the offensive coordinator at that time. And then after Bruce gets through at North Texas State, he comes back with Coach James, coaches 17 years at Dallas Carter. Bruce, why would you change such a positive direction in your career in high school football with Coach James? Why would you change and come to the University of Texas and change your whole life?
Well, first of all, growing up in the state of Texas, you've always, as a high schooler, you've always looked at the University of Texas, Earl Campbell, Donnie Little, those guys. And to have the opportunity to come here and coach, I mean, I could not pass that up.
Tell us why Coach Freddie James, a great friend of mine and yours, legendary coach at Dallas Carter, Friday Night Lights, championships, he's done it all. Tell us why he won. Why was Coach so special, and why did he win at Carter, and what did you learn from him?
Well, first of all, the kids understood that he cared about them, and he was very, very strong disciplinarian. I think that, you know, nobody got any passes. They understood the fact that they was going to have to do it the right way, and his whole deal was that when high school was over, when football was all said and done, that you be a productive citizen. And they understood that, their parents understood that, and they realized that he really, really cared about them.
And I think for all the fans in the Carter area, tell our fans how Coach James and Mrs. James are doing now.
They are doing really well. I talked to him this morning right before our staff meeting. He calls me just about every other day and always asks how you're doing. But they're doing really, really well. And, you know, he's working over there at the stadium and still around high school football.
You know, Mack, if I might add, you know, one thing that was interesting is that Bruce we talked about being on Freddie James' staff. He was the defensive coordinator of that incredible 1988 team, which may have been the greatest high school football team I've ever seen. And when you have guys like Jesse Armstead anchoring your defense, that's pretty good. But there were so many tremendously talented guys, and I know that's got to be a challenge as a position coach, a coordinator, let alone as a head coach, to try to corral all of that and have everybody buying into the same thing.
Well, it was, you know, we kind of had at that time had a little philosophy that if you could run 4-6 or better, go play defense. If you couldn't, go play offense.
Some of that hadn't changed, except now for running backs, wide receivers, and in some cases quarterbacks makes it that way. Which brings us to the next thing. Growing up in high school football as a coach, how much has that helped you evaluate in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area when it comes to recruiting, because you've been heading up our recruiting in that area for 14 years?
Well, first of all, what I have just learned being a high school coach is that a large part of recruiting is trust. And I think in that area, having grown up in that area, gone back, coached in that area, that there's a trust factor there. And for me, obviously going back home, a lot of the guys that I am recruiting right now, I either played high school football against their fathers or uncles, or there's some kind of connection there. And so the big trust factor is there. So I think that has a lot to do with the success there.
Question for you about high school coaches and parents. If you're a high school coach, what's the best way, if you feel like you have a prospect, to try to get someone to see him, get him some attention, get in front of college coaches?
First and foremost, what I would do is get the video. I would get the video. I would get the transcript, making sure that obviously get it on the phone, and I would call maybe 3 or 4 places. And I would get that video out to those guys, get that transcript out to those guys. And that, first of all, that triggers and starts that recruiting process. But one of the things I know from a college coach's standpoint, you want to look at the video, but the most important thing is the transcript. You want to make sure that the guy is doing what he's supposed to do as far as academics is concerned.
And for our parents, obviously, you have a lot more options if you got a good transcript. Because we look at the transcript first, and we honestly do that. And if the transcript is not such that it fits the profile at the University of Texas, we're going to have to figure out some reason to take you.
Yes.
Now, if you're a parent, what do you do to get your son some attention from colleges across the country? Because I know you have said and many of the high school coaches we work with say that parents don't believe we're trying to help their sons. My son should be on the list at Texas. What is the best thing for a parent to do?
I think first and foremost, what that parent has to do is trust that head coach, and understand that that head coach also has her son or his son's best interest in mind. I realize as a parent you're only concerned about your son, but I think that what they have to do is trust that head coach, because he's got the relationship with the college coaches. And I realize there's a lot of recruiting services out there right now, but I think that because as a college coach, we're going to go in and talk to that head coach, and he's going to have a knowledge of that young man. Also, he's going to know about his academics, and so that's where I would start, is right there with that head football coach.
Well, and we also would say, parents, if your son is not productive at that high school, he's probably not going to be recruited. That's just part of it.
Exactly.
And now we progress to two last things, Bruce. Number one, many people in the Dallas area, a lot of your friends told you not to come to Texas, not to go to this school, not to get in college football. Why did you come, and how's it worked out for you in your mind?
Well, first of all, it's worked out great for me. It was like I've always said that I died and went to college football heaven, and so it worked out great for me. Even though there was some people that were very skeptical of me coming, saying, "Hey, you know what? You got a great situation going right here. You should just stay right here." But I talked to two people that I trust the most: my parents and Coach James. And, you know, before I could get it out, they said, "Hey, you've got to go. You've got to go do that. You've got to go take that." And I can honestly say that it has been a great ride for me. My expectations of it has gone far beyond that. I mean, the fact that I've been around a staff of great guys. I've had the opportunity that I've only played, not played, but coached for two guys, and that's Freddie James and Mack Brown, and both of them are legendary coaches. And then the fact that I've had the opportunity to be on the staff and won a national championship. I mean, for me, I could not have scripted it any better. So,
coached the Heisman Trophy winner, and Ricky Williams,
the Heisman Trophy winner,
great player, and Cedric Benson,
and
a lot of great tight ends. And my final question, we'll let Craig close it for you. This is a tight end's dream offense. I mean, it is unbelievable. You had four guys, grade winning performance last week. Two of them, very special stories. DJ Grant's coming in here in a minute. He was just the national tight end of the year last week. Catches 6 passes, 3 touchdowns. Talk a little bit about he and Blaine Irby, Bo Scaife, Jordan Shipley. Talk about the road back for many young players out there that are disappointed, hurt today, knees hurt, may never play again. This may never happen. Talk to them a little bit about the wonderful story that these guys have to tell because of their attitudes.
First and foremost, I would say that taking my hat off to Kenny Boyd and his staff, they did an outstanding job of rehabbing with all of those guys that you mentioned. And, you know, the fact that those guys, they had a dream, and they held on to their dream. They got in here, they rehabbed, they worked. And all the while, all of that was going on from a physical standpoint. The mental aspect of it, they stayed in the film room. They were in all of our meetings so that they didn't fall behind. And the fact that those guys just said, you know, whatever I can do to help my football team, I'm willing to do that. And that's what they did. And just the fact that they had a drive that they continued to work and want to be around. And then, of course, the fact that obviously, you know, your deal that those guys are going to be around, they're going to help me coach. They helped me coach. And obviously from a coaching standpoint, they start understanding the things that we were doing from a coach's standpoint as well as from a player standpoint. And I think all of that went into the mix of helping those guys to be where they are right now today.
Was it also a challenge for you, Bruce, as a coach? You got so many gifted, talented, physically gifted tight ends. And they start going down with injuries. It was a freak situation what happened with those guys to you. And you're looking around going, who do I have left to coach? Because you lost some really good. How challenging was it for you as a coach to continue to stay with it and to understand the guys you had left, that you still had work to do with them while hoping those other guys could come back?
Well, one of the things, you know, at a place like Texas, we recruit really good players. And to have a guy that like a Greg Smith that came over, that had gone to the offensive line, but came back to tight end, and the fact that he was able to fit right in with what we were doing. And one of the things that we did is that we shifted gears a little bit, but we never changed. We continued to do what we were doing. And again, I think it all goes back to the type of players that we recruit here at Texas. It goes back to the high school coaches, the fact that those guys are so well coached in high school that when they get here, it's not a really hard job to all you got to do is say, hey, look, this is what I want you to do, and they go and do it, you know. And so I think a lot of that goes back to Coach Brown's philosophy and recruiting, and then the high school coaches in this state.
Last one. Assistant coaches work so hard. Everybody says it's an off week. Shouldn't say off.
No.
They might say open because we're not playing this weekend. Tell our fans just a little bit about what our coaching staff will do. Well, we start with about 5,000 names. We get it down to 150. We get it down to 30. And then you start evaluating. So from Thursday night's practice, tomorrow night, as soon as practice is over, you run, you jump in a car, you jump on a plane. Tell them about the weekend for our assistant coaches.
Well, you know, like you said, there's no such thing as an off weekend. What we're going to be doing starting on Thursday night, we're going to jump on an airplane. We're going to go watch football games. We'll watch football games on Thursday night. All Friday, we'll be in high schools visiting with coaches. Friday night, we will be at high school games. And then on Saturday, we will be at another high school game. So it's going to be all high school games for us. And it's kind of for us being that first open date, we're kind of trying to catch up and hit all those spots and see all those guys that we hadn't had an opportunity to see. But, you know, it's fun because, you know, you like football, you like watching high school games, and it's really fun. So
kind of a labor of love.
Well, it really is.
Right.
Well, and like for you, you love all the high schools. You like the playoffs. You like the teams. We have so many great friends now that are high school coaches. We say, oh, great win here. Oh, I'm sorry for him.
Oh, I know it's tough.
So it's fun for us.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Thanks for dropping by.
Sure.
All right, Bruce Chambers with us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up from IMG College Sports. You're listening to Longhorn Sports Line with head coach Mack Brown, presented by Great Southern Wood on the Longhorn IMG Radio Network.
I had this bad boy installed a couple of years back so I could watch game tape and DWS. You know, Dancing with the Stars. But thanks to the Longhorn Network, it's really getting a workout. With unrivaled coverage of our team, exclusive games, and more, it's 24 hours a day of everything I love about Texas. I'd highly recommend it for the secret TV in every fan's home.